Welcome to Quit to Win, the show where we explore the moment people have to let go of destructive pattern, limiting identity, and the internal battle in order to rebuild their life with purpose and clarity. Our today's guest is Anouk Brumfield, our former Executive Vice President and Senior Partner at IBM, certified life and mindset coach, international bestseller, author of 30 Days of Yes, speaker and mentor to achievers and rising leaders navigating their next chapter. But Anouk did not start at the executive table. She came from humble beginning, raised by a grandmother who sacrificed deeply so Anouk could dream loudly. That foundation of quiet resilience became the fire that drove her through over 3 decades of corporate leadership, $1 billion portfolio, and global team. And then came the moment that changed everything. She had the title, she had the seat, and she realized she was spending more energy protecting her position than pouring into people. That clarity, honest, uncomfortable, and undeniable, became the beginning of our most powerful chapter yet. Anna, it's a pleasure and honor have you on the show.
Am super excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anok. So, Anok, you were raised by your grandmother after your parents had you young. What did watching her sacrifice quietly so you could dream loudly actually did for you? And how did this shape the fire that drove everything that follows?
That's an absolutely wonderful question. I truly adore my grandmother, and I am so grateful for my grandmother. I'm so grateful for all the sacrifices that she made for me. And my grandmother grew up in a time where she did not have the opportunity to really get a lot of classroom education.
Yeah.
She only had a third or sixth grade education. She had to truly work early on. And she then, as I was coming up, my parents had me when they were very, very young. And so my grandmother took my brother and I in to rear us, and she taught us the value of hard work. She taught us the value of building relationships. She taught us the value of our word. And I saw my grandmother work really hard, make so many sacrifices. I saw how she created some very outstanding bonds to really make life easier because things are about relationships. And my grandmother wanted more for me. She wanted me to have opportunities that she was not afforded to have. And so I saw those sacrifices. I saw those long nights. And a lot of times, things that I was experiencing and the goals that I had, she couldn't help me directly with them, but by seeing things and how she operated has always been an indirect influence in my life. So she taught me to believe, no matter what it was, that I could actually achieve it with hard work, with dedication, and with the right relationships with people.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. And thank you so much. Yeah, for sharing. So 30 years I'll climbing the executive vice president at IBM. That is not more like a straight line. That's what was the season nobody saw. The moment where the climb faced less like ambition and more like survival.
Yeah, it's amazing. I worked in corporate America for 32 years, and I will definitely say time truly flies fast.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to believe that I've worked in corporate America for 32 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so I've always been very ambitious.
Mm,
My grandmother, reared me to be that way. And so I've always had some pretty high goals. And then I created plans to go after those plans or those goals. And as I began early on in my career, I was so focused on my career goals and just climbing that career ladder or corporate ladder that I was not balanced like I should. And then as I started to progress more and I started to have a family, I began to reassess priorities. And I began to kind of focus on the fact that I believe there's a way that you can be successful in corporate and successful in your personal
yeah.
life. It's not one or the other. It really is that conjunction and. And so I just had to figure out how to accomplish that. And then once I successfully figured out the ingredients to that, I began to be more in tune with myself. And God began to truly talk to me, and God began to tell me that my time was up in corporate, that I had a tremendously awesome career that I am always going to be grateful for. And I had so many mentors, so many coaches, so many people that really aided me. I got to a point to after I became a vice president senior partner, and I had in my career, I look back at my resume and I was like, oh, this girl that was reared by her grandmother that only had a third or sixth grade education afforded me opportunities that no one would have ever believed would have been possible if you grew up on my street. And I began to say that I wanted to make sure that I was always doing the right thing and doing what God was leading me to do. And so I was able to truly serve people in corporate, but God was telling me my time was up, that I needed to go serve beyond the corporate walls. And so that's when I began to truly assess things and assess my life. And so here I am almost 3 years later from that. And I would say that it all goes back to me having a mindset that I can accomplish and do anything, but you have to truly know that you have to be mindful and making sure that you're setting the goals and that you're creating a game plan on not only what you want, but how you get there and how do you get there most effectively and efficiently. And I've learned that nobody gets anywhere alone. It does not matter what your
Yeah.
education is. It does not matter your background. It doesn't matter how hard you work. It really, you have to do all of that. Those are not the only things, but there's other things that's ingredients to success. And I believe that the things that I just mentioned are the bare minimum. But what is that secret sauce is that those relationships. It's your network. It's really leveraging the experiences of other people. That it is great that if you know that someone else have been successful along that path, that you're working with them for them to mentor you, to give you the tips and to aid you. So God spoke to me to say, you've had a great career for 32 years. Now it's time to take that knowledge and go help and serve other people as well. And I first began to wonder if I was truly hearing God's voice because at this point, I'm a girl from a hood that's highly compensated now.
Yeah.
Do you mean to tell me that you want me to walk away from this compensation to kind
Yeah.
of build my own thing? And I've been, really obedient. Now, I am nowhere near compensated to the level that I was compensated financially in corporate, but I believe that I'm going to triple that, maybe 10x that at some point by being obedient and staying, consistent. So I'm pretty excited that I am able to help serve and make impact to the community and other people.
This is really amazing. And uh, first of all, I must say a very big thank you to Grandma for being that she was able to kind of instill that, yeah, sense of sacrifice and sense of a whole lot of things in there. Yeah, it's really amazing. And just share your story, I'll be like, whoa, there's really, really a whole lot to really learn in here. And thank you so much for sharing. So you said staying would have been the comfortable choice, and you did not come that far to be comfortable. Does comfort look like as a trap for high achieve, and how does it disguise itself as wisdom?
Well, I don't know what comfort looks like because it always to me seems like there is more. And I believe that when you're in comfortable situations, that's where you are actually stretched and that's where you actually grow. And I want to continuously grow and I want to continuously learn. And one of my managers, his name is Jason Kelly. I had an opportunity to work for him for several years, and he was one that truly stretched me. He got me out of my comfort zone. And even though that took a lot of hard work, they took a lot of me truly rebuilding in some cases that I reflect back and that's where I learned the most. That's where I grew the most. That's what well positioned me for so many other opportunities. So I would definitely say that if you're in your comfort zone, that may not be where you need to be because you really want to make sure that you are continuously growing and being stretched.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks for sharing. You did not retire, you recommitted. What is the difference, and why does that distinction matter so much for the people you now coach who are standing at that same crossroad?
Yeah, that's a very good way to put it. I ended up, working 32 years in corporate America. And I often tell people that I didn't retire to stop working. I just repositioned myself. I reinvented
Hmm.
myself to go do something in my greater calling at this stage in my life. And so as I'm coaching people and I'm taking all the skills and experiences that I've had to help them leverage, I really want them to make sure they're continuously self reflecting because early in my career, I was totally not balanced. And I finally learned the secret sauce later. And in order to make sure that you learn things earlier, I do think you have to continuously self reflect. And so I encourage my clients to make sure that they, number one, that they always know who they are. And oftentimes, especially when you get in these environments, you can get confused of who you are. So you need to make sure that you're doing true assessments of who you are, what do you like, what are your values, because you need to make sure that once you truly know who you are and that you're just not operating in an environment the way you think people want you to
Yeah.
operate, that you can then know that it is fine to be yourself because then that's when you show up the strongest when you're your authentic self because you have to always remember that an original is worth more than a copy. And if
Yeah.
you are yourself, nobody can be a better you. And then the next thing is, once you really know yourself and that you feel comfortable in being yourself, you have to truly surround yourself. And what I mean by that is a lot of times people feel like, "Oh, I'm so smart, I'm so accomplished, I did this, I did that. I went to this school, did this big project," but no one gets anywhere alone. You have to make sure you're surrounding yourself around people. It takes a community, it takes other individuals that can help you and guide you. And if someone's already traveled this path, and if you talk to them and they give you tips, that's just shortcut your path because there's no need of you going a longer path than you have to go. And there are some people that's not willing to share their tips, but there's others that are. So you have to make sure that you have your tribe, you have your network. And people have often said that the value of your network is connected to your network. And so
Yeah.
continuously making sure that you're not only building relationships, but you're nurturing relationships because those relationships are a two-way street. There's times that you'll bring more to the table, other times they'll bring more to the table. And no matter where you are in their journey, there's something that you can do to help someone else. So that's what I would encourage. And I encourage the people that I work with, if they're one of my clients or, people that I come in contact with, like just my friends. And this is what I tell my son too. And it is so important, especially because life is so short and you cannot get time
Yeah.
back. Time is the only currency that you don't know how much you have. Okay. You have no
Yes.
idea.
Yes. It's
And
true.
so we definitely have to go
Yeah.
live our best life and be our authentic self. And whatever you want, and these are your goals, that know that you can be positioned to accomplish that. And there's nothing that can really get in your way. Sometimes you may have a little roadblocks, but it's obviously something you need to learn from that. So we just have to keep going and making sure that we're being our authentic self and that we are also building a community of supporters, a community of coaches, a community of sponsors and mentors to help us along and guide us along the way.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah. Know yourself because an original, yes, is worth more than a copy. Yeah, that really got me. Thank you so much. Uh,
Very welcome.
yeah. So your book is called 30 Days of Yes. For someone who has spent decades saying yes to everyone else's agenda, what does it feel like to finally say yes to themselves? And what make it so hard to start?
Yeah, so the name of the book is called 30 Days to Yes to Me. And oftentimes in life, we're saying yes to so many other people, so many other things. And really, when you're saying yes to those things and you have things you need to be doing and you're sacrificing your priorities, that means you're really saying no to yourself. And so I really believe that it is so important for us to know it's okay. And it's actually really necessary for you to prioritize yourself because that's a form of self love. And if you truly are spending that time prioritizing yourself, then you will be able to be your best version of yourself and you'll be in a better position to go on and help other people. And so that was the first book that I wrote. And I wrote that because I felt like I've been on this journey where I've oftentimes put other people ahead of myself because I like to serve. And I feel like that is my purpose in life. But I believe now that there's ways that I can serve other people, but I have to serve myself first. And that's not really being selfish. And I
Yeah.
thought that was being selfish. And so I have this whole journey where or movement asking people to say yes to themselves. And that book was just a reminder. And when I wrote that book, I was like, okay, I wrote the book shortly around the time that I retired, right after I retired from IBM. And I began to get challenged and tested in making sure that I can say yes to myself. So I'm still on this journey,
Yeah.
and I feel like it's a journey. It's easier for others than it is for some of us, but we have to keep putting that in the forefront. And then I actually wrote a second book with one of my friends from IBM. Her name is Dina Bigham. We wrote a book called You're Working Too Hard. And that book really focuses on leadership. If you are leading people, aspiring to lead people, or aspiring to lead projects, we put some really key tips in that book to aid people, really practical things. Sometimes you take these other seminars or you go get, trained, you go to school to learn this stuff, but we've given you some real practical tips through our experience. And I've had 30 some years in corporate. Dina has had way more than that. So we put a lot of knowledge into this book because we feel like there's a smarter way to do things. And you don't have to work as hard as people sometimes think that they have to. We believe there's a way to work smart.
So for higher achievers who look successful from every angle, but quietly hollow on the inside out, what is the first honest question they need to sit with?
A lot of
Yeah.
times you can look so successful on the outside and everybody else can think you're successful, but they have no idea of what's going on in the inside. And so I would encourage anyone that may be having that conflict of maybe appearing to be successful and maybe not necessarily feeling successful. I would say number one is that it's okay. It's okay to feel like you're not where you want to be. And I would
Yeah.
definitely, number two, say that it's important for you to define your operational definition of success because a lot of times we may be comparing ourselves to the next person. And the only person I believe you should compare yourself to is yourself. You need to look in the mirror. And that is the only person that you should be in competition with. And your goal should just be becoming better than you were the day before. And don't worry about what other people are doing. Set your own goals and be true to yourself and go after your own goals and to create your own measurement of success yourself.
Yeah. Create your own measurements. Yeah. Of success yourself. Not living out other people's goals and aspiration of what they expect from you. But yeah, living your authentic self. Yeah, thank you. So your book, you are working too hard, make the chase for doing less while achieving more. For someone who has built their entire identity around outworking everyone else, what does they need to quit today before the identity becomes their selling?
Yeah, so I really believe that in your working too hard, which is really around tips when you're leading or you're aspiring to lead,
Yeah,
that I believe that a lot of times we're so focused on the goal that we forget where and who is your strongest assets. And your strongest assets are always your people. And that if you spend time to serve your people, they will work so much harder for you. So employee satisfaction is directly
yeah,
proportionate to client satisfaction. So if you spend time to go slow, to go fast, which means spending the amount of time making the investment to truly bond with your team, to let those team members know that you see them, to let those team members know that you hear them, to let those team members know that you appreciate them. They will work so much harder for you. And at the end of the day, you'll be better positioned to achieve or exceed all of your client deliverables and just really wow your clients.
yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. So lastly, you have come from the humble beginning, climbed to the highest level of corporate America, and then walk away from that seat, not in defeat, but in clarity. Looking back at the version of Anouk who was protecting her position instead of pouring into people, what do you want every high achiever listening right now who is doing the same thing to understand about what is waiting for them on the other side of the decision?
Yeah, I feel like I want everybody to truly self reflect and truly assess, what do you want? Not what I think other people want, not what other people may be evaluating.
Amazing. This is really lovely, especially, yeah, knowing what you want and, yeah, going all out for it. Yeah. Thank you so much. Especially the fact that social media is there now and a whole lot of content about the highlight has been posted. But staying true to your authentic self really speak volumes. So thank you for bringing this level of honesty to Quit to Win. Yeah, your reminder that comfort is one of the most seductive traps a higher achievers can actually fall into, and that the most powerful move is often the one that scare you the most. Yeah, it's one that this audience needs to hear. Yeah, this has really been amazing. And if today conversation move you, share this episode with a higher achiever in your life who is sitting at the crossroads. They might be waiting for exactly this permission. Remember, you did not come this far to stay comfortable. The next chapter is not a risk, it's a responsibility. And once again, it's a pleasure and honor have you on the show.